Well, guys, what's up? It's New. I'm back. Man, are you guys ready for this? I am absolutely ready for this. Early access PoE2 game launched to happen already. It's about a week away still. We're sitting here counting the days, hours, and minutes until it's official. And in the meantime, I've quite enjoyed taking it all in. The not-so-slow drip of new content information coming out from our fellow creators and GGG themselves. There's still so much left out, still a lot we don't know. But we certainly know enough to be able to, start to get a sense of what it's going to be like. Start to even do a little bit of theory crafting for ourselves if we want to. And that's what I did yesterday. Yesterday was a great, fun day. It was so much more enjoyable than I expected on stream. I got to watch a few videos with you guys. I got to play catch up on a lot of the new skill gems, supports, things. And for the first time, I started using some of the newer tools that we have available at our disposal. They're in no way, shape, or form complete. So full disclaimer here, if you're somebody who wants to go into PoE2 early access blind, I think that's a great idea, and you should totally do that. I did that for Last Epoch for myself. Had no regrets doing it. But generally speaking, I'm somebody who loves to sink my teeth into it as early as possible. That's why I'm always, I can build guides for new leagues. And that's why this time is not a whole lot different. To whatever extent I could. The hours flew by yesterday. We're looking at all kinds of stuff, making little idiosyncratic changes to a build. And I promise you, if you finish watching this video, you're going to have a much better sense of how the game is designed around, how the developers want us to be playing this game, as far as like what combat it's going to look like. You have some sense here, the playthrough, and surely you've heard some things. But when you kind of plot it all together and you really take a look at the skills, the supports, and how things are going to work dynamically, it helps paint a much clearer picture. And I'm going to share with you what I came up with yesterday working on the Monk. And I'm not just doing it to kind of show off what that is. I really felt like it was a good opportunity to make a YouTube video to, help prepare you guys in case you're somebody like me. You want to theory craft something for yourself. So that's how I'm going to approach this video. I'm going to approach it in terms of that, like more educational in that sense, just not just talking about what I did. We will of course go over all of that, but yeah, from a more educational approach that is more practical to anybody who would like to do it for themselves. Because if I were to do it all over again, it would take a lot less time. That would have been nice, right? So I want to give that to you guys. All right, so that's how this video is going to work. To begin, how would you go about making a new build? Where would you start in the very beginning? Well, most people would probably say you start with a class, right? They show you the different classes, you got new ascendancies, and in most games that would be true because whatever skills and stuff you use will be tied directly into that. But Path of Exile is not really one of those kind of games. And even if you are a PoE player who thought that initially, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The real class identity is in the skill. It's a skill identity, not the class identity. You typically pick a skill or set of skills, in this case in PoE2, that you would sort of build something around that way. And whichever ascendancy you choose, you may just naturally synergize with that. Now, of course, thematically, from a fantasy standpoint, you might pick your ascendancy first. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, I was kind of thinking about wanting to go fast because this game is going to slow us down a bit. So I want to go a little faster. So the Monk was very appealing to me. And then we got to see the early access stuff. And I'm going to show you exactly what I saw. It made me realize what I wanted to play. Here it is. So when the live reveal happened, we reached the in-game section, and the very first moment of combat was this. And I was like, wait, what? I thought we were supposed to be slow. I thought this game was supposed to be so slow. That didn't seem very slow. It seemed like I just absolutely wrecked the screen, that Monk did. Evidently Flicker Strike, and that planted a very large seed in my mind that essentially said, yeah, you're going to play this skill. You can use whatever that skill was, because clearly that was awesome, and I always want to go as fast as the game will let me go. I just don't want the game to make it almost impossible to understand what the heck's going on. And that's part of the reason why I'm excited for this game, because apparently we can still go kind of fast if you take that to the bank. And I know that whenever this little morsel was released yesterday, it got a lot of people talking. So many people who are on the fence about playing this game definitely were pushed over in the direction of, yeah, playing this game. A lot of people were talking about Archmage with mind over matter with the crafted weapons like this. Wow. Okay, so I wish GG would have posted something like this before. It would have really tempered expectations. Alright, so after I essentially figured out which skill, which class I would probably play, I did what anybody would do, and I sought out any sort of live game footage of this particular class in action. And here we got Jonathan making the monk look pretty badass, using this bell that creates extra damage adjacently, different prolific ailments and stuff, getting to see projectiles and see all kinds of different attacks. And, you know, just familiarizing myself with what this looks like, what it feels like, so that when I get to the point where I actually start digging into the numbers, looking at the individual skills, I can conceptualize how it's going to feel, how it's going to play. And that's exactly what I did next. So whether you're going to use Ball Lightning or Flicker Strike or whatever skill of your choice, of course, you're going to eventually probably go to some place where there's a database, and it seems like the best place is PoE2DB. And, you know, we got ascendancies we can look at here. If you want, we got keystones. Don't really have much in the way of passive skill tree information, but we do have a decent number of skill gems. It's at 146. We got support gems, 131, and this is not even close to the entire list, I'm pretty sure, but this is, in terms of a snapshot in time, this is what is available. So what did I do? I went to this place here and took a look at Flicker Strike, see what the numbers look like, to try and make a connection about what I saw in game to what's here. I see a slow base movement speed, but I see an insane, attack speed multiplier, but I see an insane attack speed multiplier down here. I see a big attack damage multiplier, and then I see something interesting that I didn't know at the time as I read the description. Teleport to an enemy and strike them. Consumes power charges to perform additional teleporting strikes on enemies. Okay, and the actual numbers are here. And these are not finalized, of course, but it may be exactly what it turns out to be. Teleports and strikes 3 additional times per power charge with, again, a huge attack speed multiplier. You cannot gain power charge while using this skill. 3 additional times per power charge. So if I had 3 power charges and hit once, I would strike, I guess, 10 times in a row, right? But if you go back and you look at that original footage, the player evidently had 7 power charges on them at a time, so maybe it was a little bit more developed in-game build. Anyway, 10 is a pretty good number, and even 4 would be a halfway decent number with power charges, so that's not nothing. And so I realized then, well, power charges, they don't work like they did before. I have to generate them. They don't give me any passive bonus, so what do I gotta do? Well, I gotta start looking up power charges. Pretty simple, you know. I'm gonna go up here and then, you know, start from the top and then try to see all the different power charges. And there's so many different skills, abilities. A few more monked ones. There's Charge Staff right there. You're gonna see that one again, by the way. Falling Thunder is another big one, which I think you start with at the start of the game. But I ended up opting out of this, at least for what I was looking at. Flicker Strikes there. You know, we got a few different things. As far as the generating power charges are concerned, there weren't that many places for it. We got Killing Palm here, which requires me to actually kill the enemy to get a power charge. Well, that's obviously not going to work against bosses, and it's not going to be super reliable anyway. So maybe not the best place. We got, you know, Profane Ritual, which is a spell. Maybe we can do some cast on crit stuff there, perhaps. Probably not super reliable. Got some more minion things. We got Raise Zombie, that's to like spend charges. And then we got this one here, and this is the one that I think is going to be by far the best, most reliable. Power charge just for hitting an enemy that's shocked. Okay, so the enemy has to be shocked in order for this to work. Well, I wonder if the skill gem, you know, you hit the enemy, it steals the shock and then puts the shock right back on if it's doing lightning damage. I don't know. There's a 2-part attack in here too with a shockwave after, so it looks like I can probably get some shocks going on pretty well here, even if I'm ripping a shock off from an enemy at the exact same time. And yeah, I think this is going to be halfway decent. Certainly better than most of the other options. Anyway, there's also another option for power charge, which you'll see a little later on, but I don't think it's going to be super reliable. So I would like to now introduce you to another site that I started using where I can start plugging things in. This is PoE2skills.com. I don't know if this is the best site to use now, but it's the one that I was using, and I recommend you use it. There will be a link down below for this build already in its, well, current, most certainly not finished state, but finished for the time being. As again, a rudimentary build, not a guide. I want to make it very clear. We're going to stay away from that word here. Nobody has a build guide out. You can't. There's not enough information. We can only sort of begin to wrap our head around things. So Siphoning Strike is here, and Flicker Strike's here. I apparently can use 9 different skill gems, up to 6 links all the way through, but it's probably going to take a while to get all of those to 6 links. So yeah, a couple 5 links, a couple 4 links, and you know, just nice little start. Definitely not finished. All right, so Siphoning Strike is here, and then Flicker Strike's here. Now what do I got to do? Well, I got to shock enemies. I need to have a reliable way to shock. Well, I suppose Flicker Strike can shock, right, if I'm doing lightning damage. But I'm not automatically doing lightning damage. This is a physical damage skill gem. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do lightning damage, maybe not. Maybe Siphoning Strike will put shocks back on the enemies, maybe not. I might want to come out with a second or third ability. And what I started doing here, guess what? Well, I started looking up shock, right? Incidentally, power charges here. And yes, I'm aware of a keystone called Resonance that can make transform your frenzy charges into power charges. I looked into that. There didn't seem to be a great arsenal for that, at least with limited information we have. But, you know, there's so much to look at shock. And this will make the video way too long for me to go through this entire process here. But basically, we're going to speed run the rest of this. And I was just kind of looking at all the different ways to shock enemies, different ways to prolif it, increase chance, more chance. A lot of different things. I mean, it was obvious to me that shock is a decent elemental ailment to, you know, dive into real hard. So this is basically a shock or lightning monk build at its baseline. And I decided to go with Tempest Flurry. Tempest Flurry looked pretty good. And I think even in that little bit where I showed you Jonathan, he was also using this, and he used this to kind of, you know, close the gap or engage with enemies to start. I feel like that looked pretty good when he did it. Converts 60% physical to lightning damage, so it's going to be a pretty high chance. Attack damage is a little weak, but the final blow in succession is pretty good, apparently. So that's going to sit pretty nice with me. And so I could maneuver into a pack of mobs with this, shock just about everything, use Siphoning Strike here. And then I guess I'll hopefully get at least 1 power charge. And then I can use Flicker Strike to, you know, I don't know, a kind of finisher. And then, oh yeah, wasn't there one more thing? There was that bell, right? There was that bell thing. The bell requires combo points. Oops, that's keystones. Well, the funny thing is, I'm sure this is not the only skill with combo points, but it's the only one that we have any information to. There's nothing about combos anywhere outside there, unless we transform it into a combo finisher, which I do think is kind of interesting. Might do this, might just go purely. I could give my Flicker Strike a 50% more damage multiplier by doing that if I wanted, but then I probably can't use the bell as well. So I don't know exactly what I'll do there. We'll see if I like the bell or not. But at any rate, going with Tempest Bell, it lasts. It has a tiny cooldown. Doesn't cost much mana. It's going to come in early in the gameplay, and it lasts 6 seconds. Limit 1. I plan to play kind of fast. Well, upon further discovery, I realized that there's a support gem that would be kind of interesting here. +1 limit with 3-second bell. How about 2 bells for 3 seconds each? I don't know if I can do that, but I do plan to play kind of fast, so maybe that'll work, and I can actually double the effectiveness. Can't do a sort of cast on because it's an attack. So it's probably either going to be this or one other support gem. Hourglass looks pretty good. 50% more damage multiplier with an 8-second cooldown. So either I'm going to go the fast route or the slow route. Not exactly sure. I could do Hourglass, go the slow route, and then also connect Flicker Strike with combos and then combo off of both, either side. That might be a way. But for now, I have increased limit. I'm just going to, in my head, plan for the fastest possible way. And then, you know, just setting up some damage supports that I can. There's some added lightning damage, which is very interesting. You do reduce cold and fire for added lightning. I like that. Very interesting there. So just trying to get some damage supports. There's all kinds of different ways I could approach this. Again, going to speed run this through. And so I looked at a lot of different supports and how they work. Remember, support gems only work once in the entire build. Perpetual Charge obviously looked really good here. It would potentially allow me to spam a Flicker Strike if I got lucky, which is one reason why I wouldn't necessarily want to put a cooldown on it or make it a combo finisher, rather. Close Combat is an obvious choice. here, and then concentrated effect is also good because I don't care that much about the AoE. And then innervate is an interesting one. I have to kill an enemy to get 20% damage as extra lightning. I mean, I don't want to use that on the main damaging ability, but I'm most likely to kill something with this skill. And it says here, supports attacks you use yourself. Can't link it to the bell. I would like to link it to the bell, but I guess that's not going to work. And then connected to here, again, what's the purpose of this skill? Is to shock, okay? So I'm going to use faster attacks to make it finish out quickly. Extended combo, the final attack does extra damage. A little bit of extra damage there. And then overcharge. I wanted to shock, so why not make the shocks more powerful? I could use prolif here or something else, I don't know. But this seems to be potentially a skill that would give the highest shocks, if not Flicker Strike. And the Siphoning Strike's not doing damage here, it's just trying to get a power charge. And it has a 2 separate attacks. So maybe the secondary attack does a power charge too. But you know what's interesting? If we rewind that tape with Jonathan, you're going to see I didn't catch this until the very end. You can get as many power charges at once as you can. In that video, he got 3 power charges at once using Siphoning Strike, hitting 3 enemies at once. They didn't die or anything. So that's actually quite surprising. Definitely going to put Siphoning Strike on the map for the sake of generating power charges. So I want it to have the highest chance of hitting everything. Area of effect, I want to give it a chance to electrocute enemies, which is essentially transforming lightning damage into stun-capable damage. Might as well. We're making this a full-blown utility skill at this point. Maim, slow enemies down? I don't know. Why not? It's just full-blown utility. Siphoning Strike rips the shocks off, and it gives me as many power charges as it hits, while simultaneously electrifying and maiming enemies with a high chance, which is 2 separate attacks, all of it having an increased area of effect. Tempest Flurry is going to feed shocks into that with fast attacks combo with harder shocks, preferably. Flicker Strike is going to just do a ton of damage, pretty just straight up, just do a ton of damage and teleport behind enemies. And then all 3 of these are going to give me combo points for Tempest Spell. Per use? No. Per attack, or at least in some cases. I did verify with the video in the live reveal that Tempest Flurry gave 4 combo points by itself to proc Tempest Spell. This is one reason why I think increased limit might be the way. Because, I mean, Flicker Strike, I don't know if each one will give me combo points. Perhaps not. But Tempest Flurry definitely did. You can see that in the live reveal. I didn't actually show that here, but anyway. Lingering Illusion was one more thing that granted me power charges. Looks to be a really strong single target. Whenever you're fighting a boss and you just try to dodge roll out. And so that's why I think this could be good. But it does reserve Spirit, and I don't know how much we're going to have. But we're going to have probably somewhere between 100 and 300 at the most. Maybe it's closer to just 100. I think you're going to have at least like 130 through quests and things. But anyway, there's some Spirit there. Not necessary. Just kind of added. Blasphemy is going to put auras and curses into play, permanently cursing, because it doesn't look like I can necessarily get curses out reliably any other way. 2 choices here, cast on crit or cast on shock. Well, I'm a shock build, so I definitely am interested in that. Both cost a 100 spirit reservation, and one of them says gain energy when you deal a critical strike with a skill. The other says gain energy when you shock an enemy with a hit from a skill once per skill use. I don't like that line. That really dampened the fun a little bit. It means I can only get 1 bit of that each usage of skill. So I might have to go critical even with a low critical strike chance. I don't know. But anyway, Charge, Staff, Profane, Ritual, and Sniper's Mark in here. Actually, a Voltaic Mark I think is better, but it doesn't exist in the website yet. I don't know. So Sniper's Mark if I used cast on crit maybe. Profane Ritual, just another way to get power charge. Probably not that smart to do and cost a lot of cast time. So honestly, I might just play without it. The interesting thing here would be Charge Staff, another way to soak up power charges. And Jonathan showed footage of him using this. This is where all the projectiles came from. It looks really strong and will stack up a lot. And I plan to generate a frickin' ton of power charges by using this skill a lot in packs of monsters. So hopefully, my goal here, it's a little bit of a lofty goal, but I would like to generate power charges enough to support both Charge Staff and Flicker Strike, while being able to attack fast enough to support increased limit and, combo often enough for that. I don't know if all that'll work. So I talk, just kind of sharing you with the process. Again, speed running the build, There's so many more different things that I was doing, but hopefully this gives you guys some sense of what it would look like. And this was honestly hours of work, just going through it and looking at it, mulling it over, talking to all the people in chat. It was a great deal of fun. Freaking loved it. I definitely recommend setting something up yourself. Figure out if you want to do ball lightning with Archmage, set it up here. Put Archmage support, ball lightning, wild shards, or whatever it was, and just set it up from there. See what you got to do. You know, set up the other skills so they dynamically enhance the effectiveness of the primary skill gem. If you really want to try to set up a one-button build, I mean, I guess maybe it'll work. Definitely not what I'm going to go for. This monk's going to be badass. Are you kidding me? It's going to be freaking awesome. One more thing to talk about is ascendancy. Well, it so happens, against my own will, the Invoker seems like a pretty dang good choice for this with the I am the Thunder especially. That's just going to give me like automatic shocks all the time everywhere. I'm pretty sure if you take a shock off an enemy that's on shocked ground, he's just instantly shocked again. So, yeah, that will be unbelievable. Unbound Avatar is on the Warden and does a lot of damage. It's clearly a sort of glass cannon setup. Meditate, I don't know if it's going to be good unless you went real hard into Energy Shield. Very glass cannon-y from what I can tell. However, the more defensive option is the Acolyte of Chayula is the one I'm leaning toward because this is a new game, and apparently if we only die once in a map, that's going to be it. So I think this might be a smarter route. For primarily Mana Leech is instant, and then going Mind Over Matter, maybe also taking Consuming Questions, but maybe not because of the new Eldritch Battery, which is actually really interesting because of Embrace the Darkness. If you're only taking mana damage, you will never reserve anything here, and you get a whole bunch of damage as extra chaos. So I don't know, maybe some damage potential. That doesn't seem to synergize super well with the build, but perma mana leech and recharge leech, or rather energy shield leech, and then going for a CI build out of this might be really good. We also have Chayula's Gift, which is a lot of chaos res if you went for that instead. And I don't really know how Walking or Waking Dream will feel. So, that's all of it in a nutshell. Here's the different places to go. There's no place for a skill tree, unfortunately, as far as I see here, unless somebody knows of another place. All we have is pictures, okay? I mean, just got pictures. I'll leave you one more final thing, though. For our good friend Flicker Strike and Charge Staff, I was made aware today about a recently revealed passive skill notable, which is currently on the screen. That looks like it'll be pretty good. I think I'm definitely going to grab that if I did go this build. All right, so this isn't even the half of it, guys. We don't know, okay? But if you want to blow some time getting better prepared, understanding the fundamentals about how builds are going to work, I feel like I'm much better off now having done this, getting a good sense, looking at all the different numbers and stuff, not going crazy on it, but just, you know, wrapping my head around what this is going to look like. I'm going to do this button, that button, I'm going to do this, and then it's going to give me power charges. I'm going to spend it. Sometime I'm not going to spend them because of this, and then a lot of that going on. Kind of just playing the build in my head. Kind of like what we do in Path of Building, just a little more rudimentary. So, in the comments below, tell me what build you are interested in playing, and if you've been setting up something like that, I'd be curious to hear. I think it would be nice to share things. We can share ideas. Don't hold anything back. Let us know where the overpowered stuff seems to be coming from. If we know anything yet, it may get completely turned sideways when the early access releases, but yeah, we'll just be better equipped to handle it. I personally don't want to walk into the game and throw my hands up in the air midstream and be like, well, how does this work again? What do I do? Oh, I gotta do that, and then I just gotta waste like so much time trying to figure out. Not a terrible way to do it, but I don't want to do that. I'd like to get it done ahead of time if I can, at least a lot of it. Yeah. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate you watching all the way through. Hopefully you have a better understanding about the game, at least in some sense, and you can have some fun setting up a build for yourself. Stay tuned until next time in the next video.